This episode of Hollow Weekly is brought to you by Satan's Seeds. This spring, plant one of Satan's Seeds in one of its 4 new flavors: cherry, grape, blueberry, and sulfur. Hey there, boys and girls. Welcome to this week's episode. Well, Happy New Year, boys. I'm going to stop myself right there. Happy New Year. It's first
New
episode
Year.
back.
Yep, back from our hiatus.
Back from our...
Horror hiatus.
When you say hiatus kind of slow, it's kind of funny. Hiatus.
Hiatus.
Anyways, we are back. We have a great film this week. We have a great film and then a great little bit, New Year's resolutions. New Year, new us. Newer
I like
us.
that. You've been sitting on that.
I was sitting on that.
There you go.
New Year, new us. Well, that's an old one. Everyone's been saying New Year, new us. That's not original.
It's new to me.
It's new to you?
It's new
You've
to
never
me.
heard someone say New Year, new me?
Never.
New Year, new us?
Never heard it.
Whoa.
This is like that when I went to see Hamlet and they were like to be or not to be. And the
Fucking
one guy in the
Encino
audience
Man.
was like, whoa. I know. Yeah, I'm out of it.
That's hilarious. Well, new Year, new us. We
But
have
the
some-
funny thing is, the ironic thing is, we're launching a New Year, New Us, but we're doing it with an older movie. So I'm thinking of this
Right.
sort of movie as I'm thinking of this episode as waiting for. So we're waiting for the horror year to kind of take off for the new stuff to drop.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
like Glass comes out next week.
Yeah.
Escape Rooms already came out, but that's one of those like just throw it in January kind of films.
right. And there's some good horror. There's a Ted Bundy doc coming out, and then the movie follows after
Fire
that.
Festival that I've been calling Fry Festival.
Fry Festival. So there's a lot. But while we're waiting, there was a movie that we missed that we wanted to hit, and it's a Shudder exclusive Indonesian horror movie called Satan's Slaves.
Not Satan's Helpers or Satan's Little Helpers,
not-
which is the
not
film, and I kept getting confused with that one. Well, I was excited to watch this because we did our review on Terrified, and that was like probably, I mean, it was just right neck and neck, maybe just a little bit behind Hereditary for me,
Yeah, it's really good.
but it was so good. And so then,
So let me, before we dive into the synopsis and the movie and stuff, let me ask you something, because we watched this yesterday.
yeah, we let it marinate for a little bit. We were going to jump right into it.
It
but we
has
were like,
massively grown on me in 24 hours. Like, I liked it. I loved it when we watched it, but I liked it even more thinking back to it.
Yeah.
And now it's actually ahead of Terrified in my head, which is blowing my mind.
yours had a Terrified.
Yeah, and I will explain it during the review, but my question is, like, what's the time period on a movie growing on you usually? Like, this is the fastest.
Depends on how weird it is.
Because I would have given this like a B, strong B, right? And now
Yeah.
it's like a A. Like, it's moved. It went from B- to A in the span of 24 hours in my head, which is really strange. But
I gave it, I think that sounds right because it grew on me.
did it?
Yeah, we watched it. How long did we let it marinate for? Like 24 hours or something like
just
that?
been a day.
It's been a day. And last night I couldn't sleep and I was watching like the Comedy Store in LA was doing like live roast battles with like Jeff Ross and I was like watching them roll. And then Dave Chappelle showed up at the end. I was like, this is great.
Nice.
So I was up pretty late and then I went to go to bed and I couldn't sleep because like the kitchen lights were on. And when I turned the lights off, all I was thinking about was like the mom in this film,
Right.
And the other shit. And so like it was fucking with me like that. And now we have Gatsby escaping.
The cat has literally opened the door.
If you've
like
seen
a
the
raptor.
lives, you've seen. Yeah,
That's amazing.
he's jumped. He apparently almost opened up a full door by himself.
But I would love to know how long it takes for movies to grow on people. Like, is it different person to person?
Depends
Is
on
it
how weird it is.
consistent?
Because I can see.
Oh,
Imagine
true.
imagine something like Mother.
Right.
Because we liked it when we left.
But you'd have to sit on that for a while to really grasp it.
What did I sit on? Oh, I know it's not a horror, but Spirited Away. I sat on it.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like it at first, and then I had to write a paper on it. And then by the time I was writing the paper, I was like, oh shit! Like I think I
Now
really like
that's
this.
Interesting. I take notes while I watch movies, and maybe that helps. Because
You take notes during them?
I mean,
Mental?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, sometimes I take actual notes during like actual real movies.
Not me. Oof.
The synopsis for this movie is this: it's an Indonesian horror film written and directed by Joko Anwar. It's a loose remake. I'm going to
This
say
is the crazy part.
I'm going to say remake / prequel. That is not what this sentence says on Wikipedia. The sentence says remake hyphen cum hyphen prequel, which I refuse to do. All right, so it's a sequel. It's a remake / prequel to the 1980 film of the same name. The plot follows a now poor and hapless family haunted by the death of their mother, who dies after being bedridden for 3 years from a strange and debilitating illness. And then Scooby-Doo shenanigans happen.
3 years is a long time to be like, are you done?
They are worn down, too. You can see. And it's interesting.
Down.
Just from the jump, we should say that it's interesting that they've made that change, because in the original movie, the family is wealthy. And in this movie, they're poor. And a lot of why they're poor is because the mother's been sick for 3 years.
And she was like a singer. And
she's a famous singer. We'll get into all that, whatever. But before we start the actual review, I just think it's interesting they changed the status of the family, because it's hard for me to imagine. I haven't seen the original, but it's hard for me to imagine this movie with a wealthy family at the center, because the whole vibe of this was that they were just run down. There were so many comments about how they were selling off their shit and their house looked like crap, and like, so it's just weird that it was originally a wealthy family.
I can see, like, it would be scary with the wealthy family, but when it was like the poorer family, like, you see them like trying to like make ends meet, and it makes you feel like a lot more sympathetic for them, so you're really pulling for them. So
exactly, right.
That's probably.
But before we get into it, we're about to get into it. Before that, I want to do two quick things. So first of all, when you look up this movie, it gives you similar movies, which is all Indonesian films. One of these things is not like the other. I love these Indonesian film names, at least as translated. You got Macabre, Lady Terminator, Headshot, right, which is accompanied by...
That sounds like an Indonesian Guy Ritchie film.
May the Devil Take You.
May the Devil.
And then, What's Up With Love?
What's Up With Love? What's Up With Love?
What the hell?
That's the name of the next episode. What's Up With Love?
What's Up With Love?
What's up with that?
That's the one movie I want to watch now out of that whole. I'm like, how is that a horror movie? What's going on here? All right, let's play a little game before we start this. You ready?
Let's do it.
I'm going to take a paranormal movie.
Okay.
Because this is, there's that old joke where it's like so with me, because I'm such an obsessive reader, the joke would be, it's easier to name a book I haven't read, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to do this, but for this, right? So I'm going to name a paranormal movie, right? Mm-hmm. And you tell me if there's any of its DNA in this movie.
Okay.
Conjuring 2.
Yes.
Hereditary.
Definitely.
Exorcist.
Yes.
Annabelle.
Yes. Creations. Annabelle Creations. Well, I guess kind of both.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Serpent in the Rainbow.
Yes.
So every paranormal movie's in this movie. That's my point. The more I thought back on this movie, the more I was like, what paranormal movie isn't in this movie?
There's also a dash of thriller.
Yeah, totally. You're absolutely right.
A little dash
and
of
there's
that.
even music at the heart of this one.
Yeah.
So. I mean, like, can you think of a paranormal movie that this doesn't really have any relation to?
The Others.
Yeah. Others is a totally different vibe. Wow, you did that fast.
I don't know how I did that.
Wow.
I'm just surprised.
Podcast over. well done. But it's weird. It's just, if you love paranormal movies, this movie is giving you a lot of stuff. And it doesn't feel like it's ripping off most of it. There's obviously some specific call outs to scenes. Like, there's definitely a call out to Valak with the sheet painting.
Yeah.
Portrait, moment, like whatever. But most of it just feels either organic because that's what the subject of the story is, or they just got their own way. They're to it their own way because they're like, we're going to do scares and they're paranormal scares, and that's how it works out. There's a lot of the Changeling in here.
Yeah, there's also, for some reason, I keep going back to The Grudge.
Totally.
Something about that too.
Absolutely.
I think it was some of like the expressions, like some of the ghosts were making in the film too, reminded me of that, because it was
absolutely. And The Ring. I mean, there was literally a person in a well.
Yeah. That's all I know. But we're naming all these films, but it doesn't feel like it's ripping anything off.
That's what I'm saying.
Most other things you would be like, oh geez, that's a rip off of that. But this was just like genuine,
right? Which is really cool. But that, don't believe me, I'm not saying as a knock. That's by way of recommending like how good it is, right? So but if you love paranormal horror movies, this one is what is this? What's the food version of everything you want in one spot?
The Golden Corral. I'm on fire.
Podcast over again.
I'm on fire, dude. I'm feeling it.
Wow. I just want to ask you questions for the next 45 minutes. Now.
Dude, screw you, Watson. Nick's home.
All right. So we're going to do spoiler free.
Spoiler free, yeah.
And then we'll give a warning, and then we're going to go into spoilers because there's some stuff that we just got to discuss.
Yeah, there's like one of our favorite parts is a spoiler knowing why it was doing what it was doing.
Absolutely.
You know exactly what part I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
So what's great about this film, just to start off, like
the
review portion is I take a grain of salt. I'm a big scaredy cat. It's scary.
Yes.
This is a scary movie.
Yes. At its most basic, let's start with the fact that this is actually a really legitimately frightening movie.
Yeah, like it was there was some scenes in there that scared me just as much as Terrified and Hereditary.
Yep.
That it plays off really well, and especially for like the low budget feel of it. It has like feels like it has like Evil Dead budget, but they somehow went for like a Hereditary movie and like knocked it out of the park.
Cool, right?
Yeah.
The cinematography is beautiful, so like the budget doesn't really show in that.
I think it won an award for cinematography.
Wow.
I was looking at it, the wiki page.
The music is great. I mean, you don't.
The song from the Famous Mothers
That
actually
was
really catchy.
So good.
I want to listen to it, but like I'm kind of like low-key frightened to listen to it.
It reminded me so much of, I don't know if you remember, but there's a similar kind of motif in Angel Heart where he had one hit. He was a crooner from the 40s, the at the center of Angel Heart, the Mickey Rourke's sort of character. And they keep playing that song. It keeps showing up, and it's on record players, and it's behind the scenes. And this movie does the exact same thing, and it's creepy every time it shows up.
Yeah. It's the other thing about it is like the set design of everything, like just like where you're at and where you feel like just the look of the movie.
Yes.
Like you just feel like you know the family's trying to make ends meet and all this other shit, so like you just feel really sympathetic for him. And honestly, like I got a little confused at first because I for some reason I couldn't tell if the mother was the grandmother, and because the father and the oldest daughter, they looked sort of similar in age, so I thought they were a couple.
Yep.
And everything else was.
Yeah, I had trouble.
And
with
then grandma came in.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was really confused.
I thought one kid was mute, and it turned out it was the other kid. And I was like, he started talking. I'm like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, he does.
The youngest kid.
He signs, but then at the end, he's
talking, but I'll get to that. I have a theory about that.
I think you're right on the theory about that, because there's no way he'd be dead ass serious about doing sign and then just be like, oh, by the way,
right,
I can just
exactly.
just whip out this language.
Yes, exactly.
I was trying to think, was it slow? And it wasn't really that slow. It had your typical horror movie like hump of like shit you have to get over to establish everything, but it wasn't like super long, and it stayed pretty interesting the whole time.
Right, exactly.
I didn't find myself getting bored with it, especially because the early scares with the bell.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the bell, we got to talk about like just the audio of this, between not only just the song, but so here's the thing. What was the scariest scene to you?
Scariest scene.
What was your scariest scene, and what was your favorite scene if they're not the same thing?
The first scare is pretty good. It's a really good fake out.
Which is the first scare?
The bell. So you hear the bell.
Oh yeah.
She goes into the bedroom and she sees grandma. She's like, "Oh my god, grandma!" Or Mom, you're standing up. You're looking great. And then she looks over and the mom's in the bed pointing. At the apparition.
That was scary.
That was a really great fake out. But when she turned around and was smiling, it was her. It was kind of
that was nice.
That's scary. But the set about that was pretty dope.
Yeah, because they basically repeated the same scene twice. I like that they did change the second one. I jumped when the camera went back because you think you know what's there because you've already seen it, and it's changed, right? Which is cool. But yeah, that's a great scene.
That was pretty good. Scariest scene, it might be the ending when we get the spoilers with the thrillers portion.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's definitely the most atmospheric scene.
Yeah.
What
about you?
My favorite scene is the sign language scene. The two kids in the bed signing to each other, where he's signing to him that he wants him to die.
That was a good scene.
It's when he starts turning like one of the children, the middle child, I think, turns murderous and basically is going to kill
grandma's telling him to kill the
the youngest one. So grandma or an evil spirit, like right, we'll get to that. But what happens is they're laying in bed and the kid's looking over at him, and the kid's laying stock still like he's asleep, but his arm is like alive, and it's his hand sticking up in there, and he's just signing, "You're going to die" to the mute kid, which is terrifying.
Well, what was scary about that shot was when it said "I want to kill," and then it pointed down to you. The silhouette on the wall was like an old, bigger,
Yep.
witchy finger. Definitely not a little boy's hands.
Which was really cool. So I found that scary and terrifying. The reason I asked was because I felt like this is one of those movies where I found the scenes where I wasn't being shown stuff scarier than the scenes where I was most of the time. I think they overdid the mom ghost a little bit. And it was the scenes where I wasn't seeing, or you knew what was coming up. Like there's a scene where a kid and the grandmother play hide and seek, and it's cutting back from him counting to her, rolling down the floor looking for him in her chair.
Yeah.
And you know something really bad's about to transpire. And it was actually scarier in the anticipation than what it actually ended up happening.
Yeah, the going back and forth
was a great
to the wheel
way to do it, right?
Yeah.
But I think the scene that was scariest to me, literally nothing happened. It was the first run of the scene you were talking about, because when she comes, and it's a dream sequence, it turns out, which is unfortunate because I don't like those generally. But when she comes up, the mom is laying in the bed and she's ringing the bell, or maybe it's different. I don't know when it happens, but there's a moment where the mom calls him with the bell. She's laying in the bed, and then she's ringing the bell and just looking up, and she's clearly seeing something that's scaring her to death.
I forgot that was a really scary scene.
But the camera pans and nothing is there, but the camera stays on the nothing.
Yeah, so you just like looking.
You're looking
around.
at a window and part of a roof, and then you're cutting back to her, and she's staring at it. She sold it so hard, like you could tell she was like scared to the point of almost being dead. And we weren't seeing anything, but it was great. It was just
that was a really well acted scene. She just looked scary.
She did look scary.
Like I can't believe like they didn't have like a little powwow in the house, and they were like, should we put some makeup on her because she just looks. She's as white as a sheet.
They tried to comb her hair.
Oh, that's right. That was a pretty good scare.
That was pretty, and it was pretty sad. It was sad what was happening to the whole family and to her. So that was, And then there's a scene where the best death, as far as I'm concerned, the best death scene is the potential boyfriend and the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's
I was not expecting how that went down. And they were playing like Indonesian pop music, not the mom song, just regular pop music while it was happening. And it was like something you'd see in a Final Destination movie where they'd be playing like Tiptoe Through Tulips or something and bad things are happening. Like it was getting really grim, but the music was really upbeat, and it was a weird combination. And then he gets wiped the fuck out.
Yeah, he gets pretty hit. It's crazy that like they decided to even like try to film it because like, throwing a dummy underneath a car filled with blood is gonna always look kind of cheesy, but like somehow
it looked real.
Somehow it just looked really gross and gory, and I was like, that was pretty fucking cool.
I wanted to send a condolence note to his family, a little actor. I'm like,
you can't send it to his father. Right. Spoilers, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we
might as well just get a spoiler.
Let's give a spoiler warning because it's going to get.
There's no way to.
It's going to
not.
It's going to get deep in here right now.
But yeah, that scene did look pretty good, and in a scene where like most filmmakers would make it look like that scene in The Omen when the guy's head gets sliced. You're like, that's a dummy's head. Like you're not fooling anyone. That's how most people would have pulled it off, but they pulled it off pretty damn good. It's because they filled that sucker up with so much blood. The blood just went everywhere. It was really nice.
And it was really like, it was very Pet Sematary when Gage gets it, but they did not cut away.
Do you think they're going to show in the new one?
If they've seen this movie, they're like, the stakes have been up.
Just imagine that, but smaller.
Since 87. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just imagine how that goes down. What else did you like?
Well, now that we're getting into spoilers, we know that. Let's get into spoilers.
Yes.
So Grandma is the one who tells the little boy. This is my favorite part of the whole movie. Was this twist?
Yes.
But the fact knowing that it was Grandma telling the little boy she's going to kill him because she knows that, now that we're into spoilers.
Yes.
That little boy is not the family's little boy. He is
Satan's seed.
Satan's seeds. Yeah, he's Satan's seed.
He's one of Satan's seeds.
But this is my favorite part about the movie.
Yes.
Whenever we watch Paranormal Activity, I hate the fact, or any paranormal film, really, except for The Conjuring, I hate the fact, and even Valak had this problem, which is weird because it's in the Conjuring universe, but they solved it. Doesn't matter. I hate the fact that it's like, oh, here's a demonic force, you're fucked. I'm always like, Where's the opposite? Where's like the angelic side that fights for us, or just not even angelic, but just the side that fights for you?
Agreed.
And I really like the fact that he's being a turd. Who knows? I like the fact that Grandma was fighting for them and protecting them.
Yep.
Even looking pretty decayed.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite moments is she becomes Hodor.
Yeah.
Right? And you see it. But let's explain. So like basically what goes down is it turns out that the wow, we're being attacked by a cat. It turns out while the little kid is Damien. He's basically the son of the devil. There's a really interesting mathematical thing going on here where the mom couldn't have a child. She asked Satan's help for a child, which is really interesting because there's a lot of Indonesia is very religious, more religious than America. And a lot of the characters just bought into the religious explanations pretty fast, which makes sense because that's how they live and what they've grown up. Right, exactly. Yeah. But the family is not superstitious. They're secular and they're not really religious. And
there's a scene they really hammered home after the scene where the potential boyfriend dies because they're all praying to Allah and the family's just like sitting there awkwardly quiet, like
not participating really, so which is interesting, right? But basically. She because she doesn't believe in God or doesn't think she asks the devil for a child, but it comes with this rule. So the rule is that after 7 years, the youngest child has to be given to the devil, right? So she keeps having babies to postpone the repossession of the baby, right? So if I understand what's happening there, right, that's why they kept saying the 7-year thing.
Yeah, right? They're like, what?
Because midnight was the cutoff. When his birthday, he became 7. Damien became 7. He was going to get claimed. Theoretically, that's what we thought, right? So they're waiting for the time limit to run out. They're trying to run out the clock to save their family. The mom apparently thought she was going to be able to cheat the devil, which never is going to work out. So she paid the price for that. But the grandmother must have figured out at some point that was happening, or she figured it out after she died and became like a guardian angel, right? Yeah. Because I was thinking when you rewatch this movie, are you going to see things from the grandmother where she was obviously like, like whatever? And there was this one moment where she was outside and it looked like it was kind of a crappy day weather-wise, whatever, and the dad came out and was like, get inside, you're going to get sick. And she's like, I don't want to be in there with her, basically. So there was a little bit of like pre-knowledge, but I think it was only confirmed when she died and became like a spirit that she found out that her suspicions were valid, because she didn't run around the whole movie trying to warn them. Right. No,
but as soon as she died, she came in hot. She was like, I'm gonna kill you.
She totally did.
She was I'm unchained.
She was grandma, kill her grandma.
Fuck you up, boy.
She was like, kill the little kid. So, but the switch was that they were trying to kill the little kid to stop it. So actually, she was on the side of good, right?
Yeah.
And then basically, the kid who was being possessed he looked creepy, but he was basically, if he had killed Damien, it would have been a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I thought that whole twist was really good.
Maybe. You kill
right.
You don't want, because then you're fucking over the devil.
Right.
He's like, where's my kid? You're like, we killed him, dude.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of poltergeist in the movie, too.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty good, too.
Especially at the end. It was so similar to the scene where they were in the hotel with the TV and all that stuff, right? The way it was filmed. But yeah, so the twist was really great. I think that was a really good part. I didn't see it coming so much, right?
Yeah, and then when they needed to get real culty in the film, they cranked it up to an 11.
They did.
Like those scenes were really good. The first time you see like the cult like in mass, they're all standing outside and it just looks like a bunch of silhouettes, and they start yelling at them all this other shit, and then they hold their hand out and drop a bunch of red hot tamales.
Satan seeds.
Yeah, Satan's. They could rename hot tamales Satan seeds.
They really could. They probably have. That's got to be a thing. Right?
Wow. All right, so we're gonna advertise
trademark.
We're gonna advertise hot tamales. Be like, give us a partnership, rename them Satan seeds, and we'll sell them on the Facebook page.
There's someone eating those right now out of like a pack, and they're like, "You dumbasses!"
They're like,
"This is a thing.
This is a thing now." But they were very creepy.
I liked the way they dropped it. They all simultaneously. They were just standing outside in the graveyard with umbrellas, which is kind of funny, and then the father came out and he challenged them almost
With
like
a
a
knife.
Western.
Yeah.
He was like with a fucking like paring knife.
I don't
like,
know, dude. You can get first couple motherfuckers that come.
Well, the guy gets taken out by that same knife. Remember the guy whose son got run over.
Oh,
He was like bloody.
yeah, he did get pretty hard.
He was wiped out.
That
Yeah.
could have been a
He got
Cole
killed by
member.
his own son. He came back like monkey paw style.
Oh yeah.
So, and he killed him with the knife. So the zombies all rise. They come back.
They kept
and
saying
the
that-
cult is there too.
They kept saying that the thing that was going to take the youngest kid was the living dead, and I'm like, that's so cool.
Yep.
And then like these thriller-esque Rick Baker looking zombies come up.
Yep.
And like it reminds me of like what's the scene in Day of the Dead where they open the door and all the zombies
Mm-hmm.
rush out? It just felt like that. But it felt frightening. Like it was like you had this sense of urgency.
Totally.
Most zombie stuff you watch, you're kind of like, okay. Yeah, okay.
And one of the things I like about the vibe of this movie and how it worked with zombies and paranormal and all that stuff, and I think we're seeing more of this, which is interesting, between like Annabelle and the Nun, and I mean, I guess James Wan's bringing a lot of this to us, but it's interesting to see how, or at least it's interesting to me to think how the olden time stuff must have been actually scary for people to have to deal with, because when you like my favorite scene in Annabelle Creation centers around a well.
Yeah.
And some of the best scary scenes in this movie are sent around like a well. And you look at like the old timey stuff, like when we used to live in like yurts and have wells and candles and like whatever, they're just inherently scarier. Candles cast shadows, not like fluorescent lights do. You know what I mean? And when you got to go get water
Flickering
out of a
and scary,
well,
yeah.
right? Like they showed the kid. There was a scene where the kid had to go get water, and it was just a weird. Like I just realized that the antique stuff must have been scarier than what we deal with. Now we just 3 a.m. you roll up to your refrigerator and put your glass in the thing that shoots water out of your refrigerator.
Lights it up
There's
beautifully.
nothing scary about that, right?
You have the choice of crushed or cubed ice.
Right, exactly. So it's interesting that this old timey stuff was just inherently scarier. That's why I love anything that's like Jack the Ripper style, right? Because it's like the gaslight and the fog and the cobblestone.
The atmosphere.
Exactly.
It does a lot for atmosphere.
Totally. So I thought that
The well was pretty good in this film. They did a lot. They did a handful.
the
of
bathroom,
scares.
not so much. What the hell?
Well, it's the same room, right?
Yeah, it's the same.
Just kind of go in there and like just piss on the floor or something like that. I mean,
Yeah, that was.
you know, 1981 was a weird year.
That's right. It was set.
This whole thing takes place in 1981.
It's all set in.
The one guy, the poltergeist guy,
The one who knows?
the one who knows. I liked him a lot.
I liked him too.
He wasn't-
their version of what Tangina from Poltergeist. He was the one who had the inside scoop on what was happening.
How did he have the inside scoop?
He actually, remember, he knew the mom, right?
Yeah.
And he was also into the occult. So he was like an occult scholar. He wrote articles in magazines about the occult.
Oh,
And he actually told the family when they sought him out, they were like, we don't believe in superstition. And he was like, look, your mom asked the devil for a child, and now everything's going wrong. Like, you can not believe it if you want, but you're clearly things going wrong in your house. And he was cool. He was a great character actor, had impeccable control of that one eyebrow lift that I can't do, that I'm always jealous. Who else is really good at that? Bruce Campbell?
The Rock.
The Rock.
The,
Oh, yeah,
the Rock's.
right.
He's made the most cheddar off that.
Yeah, it's
Of
The
that
Rock,
eyebrow.
Yep.
Yeah, he was doing that pretty well, and he wasn't overcooked either. You can usually get a character like that, and then they're just kind of hamming it up.
No, I thought all the acting was great. I actually read an article that said that the who I consider the lead, which is the oldest daughter, she was actually terrified during the whole movie shooting it.
Really?
And she was also terrified watching it. She was like, I had to close my eyes during certain scenes, like,
That's really crazy.
which was really cool. Some of the little stuff I liked. I loved the 40 steps walking away from the funeral little
Oh, yeah.
short story. So the kid was like, the mom dies, they bury her, and then the kid was like, I read somewhere that when the last person has walked 40 steps away from this grave after a funeral, the person who died wakes up. And what was interesting was, and I love this dynamic, this is of the family dynamic, because there's a lot of family stuff going on here, where his older sister goes, how do you think they know that? Are there cameras in coffins? And she ended up disturbing him more than comforting him. Like, she was trying to tell him, yeah, dude, that's bullshit. Don't believe it. But he was like, oh, man, cameras. What if they filmed that shit? You could see on his face. He was like, man, that's even creepier. But then they go to the actual funeral, and he's standing there, and she's like, we got to go to the back home. And he's like, I took 39 steps. If I take another one, what if she's alone? What if we leave and she wakes up? Like, what if she needs us? And it was kind of really touching. Like, like he was really torn. And then she looked at him and she goes, okay, well, what's your plan? You're going to stay here at night? And he goes,
Yeah,
he's out.
Kind of a flawed idea.
So I did like that.
There'd be no graveyards. If they all just got up.
Well, yeah. Well, she said the story was they wake up and then they die of fright when they realize they're buried alive, which would happen.
That is okay. Right. I'm now on board. That's fucking gnarly. That's the most metal story I've heard all week.
I loved the viewfinder. Remember when he was looking at the pictures? Scare. I love the juxtaposition of how poor they were in the beautiful pictures he was looking at in the viewfinder, and then that jump scare, which was very like the It remake slide scene.
Yeah,
but almost as well done, like really well done.
Yeah, it was a little bit more. I mean, comparing like Pennywise coming out of the goddamn wall, that's frightening. Right. But this one had there was like a subtlety to it that made it a little bit more frightening.
Totally.
Because it's one of those scares, it's coming. Like as soon as he started going through it, I'm like, oh fuck, one of these are going to be full of ghosts.
Yep.
But no matter how much I knew that,
right,
I still didn't know. I was still on the edge of my seat, going like, okay, when's it going to be?
Yeah, when's it coming and what is it going to be?
Yeah,
right?
What's it going to be is even frightening. But you're just sitting there like, okay, it's not that one. Okay, here's another. Okay, it's not that one.
And part of what makes it, and I think part of what this movie did really well, as did Terrified, so good on you, Shudder, all over the place, is just the sound, because the viewfinder click was like,
oh yeah,
and it's just repetitive, and you're like just lulled into everything's fine, and then boom, right, which is the same as the bell, right?
The bell scene, that was also a good scare when the kid heard the bell and it was just floating and then dropped. There's little scares like that they're like supporting scares. Did that take it a little off kilter? Okay, good. We have the big one coming. It was a good build. The build ups to the big scares were really good. They were sort of gradual.
Totally.
And then the end, when the dead actually rise up, and it felt like a video. It felt like it felt like one of the House of the Dead games. Like that that shot of them in the graveyard. And then the best one I thought was when they were coming through the door.
Yep.
There was a part because we're gonna do our New Year's resolutions. This sort of ties in. Mm-hmm. When we went to the Reign of Terror, they had a zombie group animatronic.
Reign of Terror is a haunt in LA that we went to last year. Right.
Yeah, and it felt similar to that. I was like, that looks like that. And that was terrifying. And it was terrifying in this movie. So hordes of zombies breaking through doors is the scariest.
And that's when you see, which I really liked, that for some reason the zombies couldn't get through the door. I loved that the family, this is one of the things I really liked the movie. The message of the movie was, there's other message I want to talk about real quick, but the explicit message, the one they spoke out loud, was that the family has to stick together. They can't take the child. Satan's cult can't take the child from you unless they divide you. They got to split you up. They got to get you to turn on each other. If you kind of stay together and love each other and protect each other, then that will beat the evil, right? So in the end, when the zombies are everywhere, unlike Night of the Living Dead, where you had characters who were arming themselves and coming up with strategies and trying to figure out escape routes, this family just ran for a group hug in the middle of the fucking house and screamed. They were all just hugging each other like they were just a big pretzel, and then they were just screaming helplessly. And the zombies are about to come through the door, but they can't get through the door. And you're looking at the door and you're like, that door is really flimsy. Why can't they get through it? And that's when one of the best moments of the movie, the camera pivots to the mirror. Yeah. And in the mirror, you see the grandmother, whose wheelchair is rolled slowly towards the door, is holding it back.
I love that shot.
Which was it was a great shot. Which was
because then you're like, all right, we got a chance. We can fuck some of these dudes up.
Yeah, and then the one who knows came in from the back and brought a car. Finally. That was another thing.
But them loving each other, did that really help? Because I feel like Grandma was going to hook them up regardless. She was already in the house chilling, threatening that boy.
I think their grasp. I think the experts' grasp. His articles, I think, are only like 75% accurate because I didn't really help them that much.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah, you're right. He can't. How can he know? He's not
right. The one who sort of knows.
Yeah,
right. Which is fine because it is a prequel eventually. So you know that bad things have to transpire after this movie because it's a secret prequel. You don't know going in as a prequel, but it is.
Yeah, because the other film, I guess that other film was technically the prequel, was made in 1980. Mm-hmm. And it was they were just like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and
totally
give that the old revamp-arino.
Totally. It's exactly like Annabelle Creation. It's
Yeah,
the
in that
exact
sense,
same
yeah.
placement in the franchise as this would be. And I heard there's a third one coming from this director.
Well, now we got to check out the original.
which would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's legendary, but I haven't seen it. So.
I didn't even know it was a thing. So watching this was a treat because I'm like, oh, great. Now I get another film?
Exactly. And then another one after that.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
My absolute favorite thing about the movie, though, is I loved what this movie was doing with the idea of communication, right? I believe that most of this movie is about breaking down of communication between people and how that causes problems. Like the way Romero was doing really subtle political metaphors with zombies or sociological metaphors. This one was about communication because the evil kid was literally mute. So the sign of the devil is not communicating, right? Mm-hmm. So the evil kid could not talk. But in the whole movie, there were all these moments where people are trying to pass each other notes and they're not making it. They're trying to tell each other messages and it's not working. And they're trying to give each other messages and they're misunderstanding what those are. You think someone sends you a message, kill that kid. You think that means they're a bad guy, but they're a good person.
Yeah.
Communication was just whacked through the whole movie. Like no one could get through to anyone, right? The kid was literally trying to tell his girlfriend something, gets plowed down he gets gaugified. And then his note doesn't even get read
great.
until like the very end, right?
Yeah.
The one guy, the one who knows, he had to speak his message out loud. He had to turn on a radio to try to cover the fact that he was talking because he was afraid the cult would hear him passing along.
He also,
information.
We didn't get to see it, but we know he whoops some ass. Remember, he grabs that big knife and someone's at his door.
Yep.
I want to see that sequence
because the massage guy got possessed and he took him out apparently, which is good.
Yeah, I think the massage guy, was he possessed or was he in on the cult?
He may have been on the call. Well, you're right. It was eyes freaked me out, but I think he was just blind. So.
Oh, yeah. He was because he was like, where's your glasses?
Never mind.
He's like, people will make fun of me.
But
he didn't know. That would freak you the fuck out.
He didn't know. But I think that was, I'm looking forward to rewatching it with that like idea in mind because I have a feeling that there were a lot of times that I missed where people were trying to, and the communication in this one was so interesting because there were so many different ways to do it. There was the messages from beyond the grave. There was the sign language. There were whispered. There were articles being written. Like there was just this movie was basically like
no telephones.
There's like the horror version of The Post.
No telephones.
No, yeah, no telephones for sure.
Because they didn't have a telephone. The boy was like, "Well, if it doesn't have a phone,
exactly,
I can call you."
Exactly, and they couldn't get a hold of their dad when they were being like terrified.
Dad had no clue.
No, Dad was off raising money, and he came back rich, like rich AF.
He was just like, "I'm gonna go get some money. I'm gonna come back. Guess what? We're moving. Pack up your shit. We're haunted, yo."
Right, and then he had to. I don't know what he became a gigolo. It's the only thing this movie gave us.
The boy, the only career at path they really talked about was
gigoloism. But who knows that kid may not be the one who knows. I don't know. And then the little nose picker, evil kid. But by the way, remember that moment?
Yeah, he did eat a booger.
First of all, he put one on his brother.
Yeah.
Which was like that was badass, and then he just goes ahead and like I don't want to waste this.
That was a power move. That was a definite power move.
You know your son is the child of Satan if he's wiping boogers on you. That's the message of this film.
That or Dennis the Menace, who might be the devil. That's what this movie should be. I would see a movie where Dennis the Menace, the devil's son. That'd be hilarious.
Right. So I think that was a really, really interesting thing. And then at the end, there's deep spoilers now, but the movie basically does Final Destination 5. It loops back to basically the beginning of the original, apparently, and that character shows up at the end, or sort of like Annabelle Creation. And that character from the original shows up at the end. We're seeing them, right? And that was the last thing of communication to fail, is that they've now moved into their new place. It's way nicer. They've got better clothes. You can tell they're having, a good life.
Yeah.
And the neighboring couple comes over and gives them food and checks on them to make sure they're okay. Like Rosemary's Baby, actually. And they, when they leave, they're like, "Oh, that's really nice that couple, is being so nice to us." And they're not being nice to them. They're grooming them to be harvested again for another Satan child. So they're misunderstanding the communication even at the end, which is what I think like the main message of the movie was. So I just think that was really cool. And ironically, there are two versions of this movie, speaking of communication. One is subtitled and one is dubbed, and they both are terrible in terms of that. So Shudder's biggest Achilles heel, as far as I'm concerned, as a service, is their closed captioning sucks, or at least the ones I've experienced. They're really small, white, not shadow lettered, hard to read. And then the English dub, I don't know if you checked out any of that, but it's fucking terrible. It's so comically bad.
I want to see it.
Everything they say is just said like flat. Like,
oh no,
there's no emotion. It's like, we better run to the car. The car's not starting. Like, it's just delivered that way. Like, they hired a bunch of people to stand in a studio and just say lines.
You should probably just not even overdub it.
So the fact that the communication of the dialogue is hard from this movie, considering what the message of the movie is, I find ironic. So,
well, yeah, because we didn't even hear about it till now. It is a great movie. So even communication of talking about the movies. Damn this. I wonder what other films
we missed.
Or no, like what films have an issue within the film that then goes outside the film? Like were people massacred outside?
Right, to become a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Or did like people who bought The Ring on VCR, like just did their VCR machine broke and all kinds of bad. Yeah. I don't know.
I guess The Exorcist, because they had some fucked up shit on the set.
That's true. That's true.
So,
and Poltergeist has sort of a curse.
Yeah. Maybe it's paranormal films. I don't know. All right, I'm never making one of those. Fuck that. I wanna have a good time.
You're only making paranormal commercials.
Yeah, paranormal Satan Seed. That's about it. But I would definitely recommend the hell out of it.
Where do you put this on the SPM?
Oh,
scare per movie.
Scare per movie.
How many minutes average do you have to go through in this movie before another scare happens? Every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes,
honestly,
every 8 minutes?
I feel like 14 and a half. 14 minutes, 30 seconds.
So you had said something before we recorded that I want you to say again, because you said this was a version of like an Indonesian car or something like that.
Oh, I said the scares in this film come about as well as the car that the one who knows drives, like an Indonesian car. Like it starts up and you're like, yeah, it's working. And then it just kind of dies out. And you're like, where's it at? And then it just starts back up again and like it's just fully running. That's the amount. It's like that's how it is. It's like you get this big hill, this big scare, nothing really happens, and all of a sudden the scary shit happens, and they just leave it at like an 8.
See, this fascinates me. So that's making me really eager to let a couple months go by and then just do a rewatch, because my SPM on this movie is 5 minutes. I feel like there was a scare every 5 minutes. This movie felt relentless to me. It started a little slow, but it became. And I don't know if that's a trick of memory. Am I remembering the scares or whatnot? But I looked online to see some of the reviews, and it was exactly 50-50. There were some people who were like, this is a slow burn. And there were some people who were like, wow, this movie is scary, relentlessly scary all the time. Which is a weird sort of like magic trick that this movie did. That some people it's scaring more.
I can see how people can fall on either side of that fence, though. Because there are some parts that feel slow, but it's patterned on both ends with scary moments.
Yeah, and legitimately scary, which... You don't really like. I think the more people pull it off, the more they're taken by surprise by it, because there's so many movies that came out in the last couple of years where people were like, "This is going to be really scary," and then it was like Leatherface or Jigsaw or whatever, where literally nothing scary happened the entire time.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's 10 just feels bigger.
There's a lot of quality scares in this one.
Exactly.
They don't feel cheap.
No.
They feel good.
And I would highly recommend it too. I think the weird thing is I feel like Terrified's a better crafted movie, and I feel like there were some moments in this movie where it got really cheesy or a little bit over the top or kind of took me out of it or whatever, which is weird, but I don't hold it against it at all, which is just this weird phenomenon, right? Where you're like, I don't know how to describe. I don't know what the metaphor would be. Like, to me, the metaphor would be like let's say that you put me on just the show Jeopardy, right?
Yeah.
So I would do how I would do. But what if I went on Jeopardy with a headache? Would I do worse? Probably, right? What if I went on Jeopardy and my back hurt? Like whatever. But if I went on Jeopardy and I had a headache, it wouldn't change my performance because I'm used to having headaches, right? So like this movie had a headache. It had a problem where things were cheesy or over the top at times or a little bit corny. But it didn't affect the performance of the movie at all. Whereas other movies, it affects it. I don't know why.
Because this movie's there's like a genuine feeling to this movie where if something like Leatherface had to do it, it would feel like a studio doing it in a way to try to fuck with the audience rather than just being scary.
Such a good point.
This
wasn't directed at the audience. They made this for them.
Yeah,
right.
They weren't trying to like, what did the audience say to it on this
right.
test screening? They were just like, this is what it's going to be. It just felt it felt real.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All right, cool. Well, highly recommended. Very good. While you're waiting for 2019 to start bringing you the good shit, if you haven't seen Satan's Slaves, terrible title, by the way, go back and just give this movie a chance because it is really, really good. And if you watched it when it came out and you haven't rewatched it since, and you rewatch it with the podcast in mind, let us know what you think on the rewatch. Tell us on the Facebook page, message us in the group.
And if you're watching Satan's Little Helpers, you've gone too far. Hang a left.
Hang a left.
Hang a left.
Go back.
Go back to
Go in reverse. Go back to the last stop.
So it's 2019. I got a list of resolutions.
Yes, you do.
I got some really good shit. I got a lot of... What is a resolution? Is that just a hopeful...
No, it's a plan.
It's a plan?
It's a plan. You're resolving that you're going to stick to this.
But what if my resolving is wishful thinking? Like, I'm going to accomplish this through the power of mind and not put forth a lot of effort. But my heart's in the right place.
Well, it depends on how powerful your mindset is.
Professor Xavier level.
All right, then you can do it.
Okay.
You can do it.
So here's some resolutions, I think. You know what? These aren't my resolutions. This is the podcast resolution. So I'm gonna spread them seeds like Satan seeds available at Home Depot. I'm gonna spread them.
You're
seeds.
repping us for this resolutions.
Okay,
let's hear it.
All right. So number 1.
Yes.
After if it part 2 comes out, and I'm wearing a You'll Float 2 t-shirt.
Yes.
I put it on the Instagram. I put felt cute, might delete later. I don't know why. That always makes me laugh.
I like that caption.
That always makes me laugh. Once It Chapter 2 comes out, let's cool it on the clowns. I've never been a fan of clowns, and it's not because I'm scared of clowns. And I know we've had this conversation with this. If you woke up and there was clowns with chainsaws, would you be scared? Absolutely. I'll be scared anytime.
Yes.
But there's something about clowns where I'm like, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Yeah, it's been overdone, and there's not that much you can do with it. We were talking before about how we want there to be more voodoo movies, remember?
Yeah.
And you can do all kinds of stuff with voodoo.
We did manifest witches.
We manifested witches. We manifested more voodoo movies, actually. We also manifested more good werewolf movies. Like, you be careful with your powers over here, because
that's why.
Because they work. So so be careful. But I agree with you. Like, the clown thing, the problem is with witches, you can do so many things, right? They can be in any form. Clown's a fucking clown, man.
Pennywise, he's got a.
No, he's got variety, but when he's a clown, he's a clown. I'm saying there's only so much you can do. Either a clown is a paranormal clown, in which case you got to explain why hell it's dressed up as a clown, or it's a real clown, a la Terrifier, in which case it's not anything but a crazy guy in a clown outfit.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So we can move on.
Yes.
Okay. First order of business. Motion.
You manifest.
Motion. Let's go for it. Let's see here. Oh, Guillermo del Toro. Last year, remember he posted it wasn't a year ago, but it's last year. That's what I hate the new year. It was last year. Posted all those screenplays that didn't get produced.
Yes.
And the only one that I truly care about. I care about all of them. I'd like to see all of them, but the only one that I want to see happen this year, and I feel like we're gonna resolve a way to make it happen, is he gets the green light for his Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
One. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm going to scheme.
Well, and I'm manifesting he gets to make At the Mountain of Madness, considering the shirt I'm currently wearing.
You are wearing an HP Lovecraft shirt for Romans.
So that's the thing is, I think I'm with you on this one. Let's manifest these movies.
So I think what we need to do is at Disney, hey, can we make a Haunted Mansion movie? And then at Real GDT, he can do it. Thoughts? like a shitty Business meeting, and we'll see what they say. It could work. It could not work.
It could work. Let's try it.
Okay, this one's a Sabrina one.
Yes.
And I joined the Sabrina group on Facebook.
Yes.
And I forgot how much fandoms really are fans of the things they yes. They do what's called shipping. If you don't know what shipping is, they take two characters and they're they love each other and they make a thing. A lot of times,
wait, what?
They take two characters and they make them lovers, and that's called shipping, right?
Why?
Because they have nothing else better to do than to fantasize about two fictional characters.
Why is it called shipping? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying?
Shipping.
Why?
Imagine they're on a ship together. I don't fucking know. I can't explain it to you right now. I'm not a fandom person. I'm not one of these people who are yeah, George.
Right? No, that word fascinates me. Okay, all right,
but I want to unship a storyline that actually happened. and it makes Sabrina and Harvey call it quits. If I have to see, he's actually in another movie that me and Alex saw, and we're like, that's Harvey Kinkle, but he was like really good in it. So, but then Sabrina, he's just like, he's got the personality of wood chips.
Yep.
I can't stand that.
His character's
not a lot of romance in horror. Where's romance in horror?
Right. No, I mean,
Dracula.
Well, you loved Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak.
You see what happened to Crimson Peak. So
yeah.
It's not a.
It was like Dracula, Crimson Peak, Killer Condom, and that's it. All the romance is gone. All the romance is gone. But we got to get them breaking up.
Well, and there was some really you had some in the It remake, which I think was part of what made it really popular. Was
Yeah.
A lot of people were missing that kind of genuine emotion.
There was a little. They tried to do romance and Get Out, but she was not liking him.
No.
Okay. Here's one, and I don't know what. I know it's gonna happen because it happens every year, and being that we have a platform, we can sort of manufacture it and make it happen.
Sure.
Really pulling for a few polarizing films so we can continue these lame ass debates of like Babadook versus It Follows, It versus Get Out. I hate them, but I love them.
Yeah. No, I know. They're irresistible.
Those conversations.
It's like Frosted Pop-Tarts.
It's like Frosted Pop-Tarts while watching Maury. None of it's good for you. No. But if you're homesick,
good for you. But it is good.
But it's healthy. It's healthy to just have it for the sake of argument. It doesn't solve anything or mean anything.
Right.
But you're kind of like,
right.
That's okay.
You don't want it, but you want to never have access to it. It's weird. Yeah, I agree.
What do you think? I'm trying to imagine like Maury Povich bringing out 2 films to the stage in 2019. But like what are those films potentially going to be? Do you think it's going to be It Chapter 2?
Yeah, but here's the thing. So we had just posted this on our Facebook page, which if you aren't following, it's at Hello Weekly, and we'd appreciate it. It means a lot to us. But we had just posted this morning. There's a really interesting graph that came out that's a study of the popularity of film genres over time from literally 1920 to now, right? And the graph, goes up when they're more popular and down. Obviously, those graphs work. And then they put the genres next to each other. So Westerns, the graph starts out like looking like the Rocky Mountains, then it's the Appalachians, and then it's like a desert. So like nobody cares about fucking Westerns anymore, right? So it just flats out. Horror is the opposite. It was really popular a little bit. There's a bump around the 30s, and then it kind of goes down a little bit, and then it's just nonstop rise from 80s to now. Like the popularity of horror is a steamroller. It's just unstoppable now, which is really good to see, right? So, but because it's so popular and because so many talented people are turning their hands to it and it's getting so much attention, it's just every year since like 2011, I've been surprised every year. Every year I think I know what's coming, and at the end of the year, I'm like, wow, my favorite 3 movies were movies I didn't even know were happening, or I didn't have those expectations for. You know what I mean? Like the year The Witch came out, like I was not as excited for The Witch, but it turned out to be my favorite movie for that year, right? And then last year, like my favorite movie was not Halloween, obviously, right? So like when I look at the big ones, when I think of sitting in January 2018 being like, oh, what am I excited for?
You never know because they
my favorite movie was The Endless. My favorite horror movie of 2018 was The Endless, and I didn't even know it existed at the beginning of the year. So I don't know if we can call it.
You're right. But that actually gave me hope because while you were explaining that, I had a mild heart attack because I was thinking about, I always forget what year it was. Was it 2002? What was one of those like really stinky years?
Yeah, there's like 95 is my favorite one to point to.
That's a bad one. But I almost had a heart attack. I was like, oh, wait a minute. 2016 was pretty good. 2017 was really good. 2018 didn't disappoint at all. And I was like, oh shit, is 19? Is that going to be like the fucking clunker? Of the year.
Yeah, I hope not.
Before we go on. Yeah, and but then thinking about that chart and how popular it is, they're right. There's a lot of I feel like there's gonna be so much horror movies and shows to watch that like there's inevitably gonna be like a bomb.com series or a handful of movies to where like we don't have to worry about having a 95.
And let's be honest, one of the problems of being a really dedicated horror fan in this era now is that horror is starting to have like an impact. It's like The Blob. It's starting to have an impact. There's no place in the town where it's not. So it's starting to have an impact even on the shows that aren't horror. Everything is getting driven darker, edgier. True Detective went back to its, roots. And you're watching, like I just watched Escape at Dannemora, which is a great show, right? But it's so bleak and it's so dark. It felt a lot like Castle Rock, but it's not. It's not horror, but it feels like it, right? So like, and Twin Peaks: The Return was scary as shit. So like, I just feel like horror has the influence of making things like dark and real and facing up to things has spread out from the genre. Now there's so much to watch.
Yeah.
Who the hell has time to watch all the things?
Dude, what's funny
to
is, so today as we're recording this, news came out that Channel Zero got canceled, which is great because now I can catch up.
Right, there will be more seasons piling on.
Yeah, I can just finally catch up and figure out what all the fuss is about.
One less thing on the list.
Yeah, I don't have to. I know I can eventually just chip away at it, and I'll be fully caught up.
That's hilarious.
I do have some actual resolutions, not resolutions, but things that I would like to accomplish horror-wise.
Yes.
This year, we still have not made it out to Halloween Horror Nights.
Yes, we have to.
So like, we were in Japan for most of last Halloween, which is pretty dope because they love Halloween.
Yeah,
right?
That was awesome. They were decorating for Halloween before we got there, and we got there in like September.
Yeah, like end of September, and they were already like, "All right, here it comes."
Yep.
Greatest holiday in the world,
which is cool.
When to finally knock out Halloween Horror Nights, that's a real one.
Yep.
But we gotta do like the VIP pass.
Yep.
Because if you don't, you only get like 2 mazes done.
Yes.
And it's like super bogus.
That sucks.
I want to do that one, and then what was another? I want to finally watch Channel Zero.
Yes.
Now that I can.
Yes.
And what's the other one? I had one more. Oh, I wanted to go see Free Solo because I want that to make it on our scariest films for.
Oh, the Bravo, not Bravo,
yeah.
That should be on there because you're afraid of heights. So
I'm terrified. You're scared of heights, right?
I am.
So we're both scared of heights. If you don't know what Free Solo is, it's that documentary about people like just free climbing. Off
it's about a particular person, and it sounds like he took his life in his hands, and the way it's filmed just sounds scary as shit. And there's a documentary very similar that I showed Nick the trailer for called Maru, which came out like in 2015. That looks a lot like Free Solo, and that was scary. It was hard to even watch. It's like the way you watching YouTube clips where they're doing parkour on the top of skyscrapers, and then they do that POV shot down, and I'm like, no.
I get like right now, I have the one image from Free Solo in my hands, like getting clammy. I'm so frightened of heights.
And my real resolution is I want to do more with the book arm of Hello Weekly. I think that everyone is sort of realizing that it's a Renaissance era for horror shows and movies, but it is also a renaissance for horror fiction and writing in general, nonfiction too, a la Fangoria, a la Stephen Jones and Ellen Datlow and all these great anthologists and people who are doing really good work. And we have a horror book club, which I would deeply appreciate if anyone who's listening who's not in it would join it on Facebook. It's a Halloween Weekly Horror Book Club. But just doing more with the literary wing of our enterprise is one of my 2019.
Oh, I'll add audiobooks. I don't read. I do audiobooks.
Yeah,
I'm always running around. So audiobooks are perfect. I want to get some more audiobooks.
Same fucking thing.
I think I can do one a month. That's easy. That's doable.
Totally.
I know I should be able to fit more in there probably, but I think one a month.
It's fine. It's fine.
It'll start that way, and then it'll go every other month. And then...
But that's the thing is, it's we've got a lot of people who are really dedicated readers in the group, and I don't feel like that I've given them enough to make it an actual community like we have with the other group. So that's one of my resolutions. So we're gonna do that, which is good. Not
to brag or anything like that, but we did post about a book a couple of days ago, and some guy named Kirk Hammett, guitarist of some band called Metallica or something like that.
Cool. Great
Metallica. Is that how you say it?
Something like that.
Metallica. He liked it. He gave us the horns.
Yeah.
He commented and gave it the horns.
That is great.
I was like, that's so crazy.
I love that that's a signature.
I was like, did he type that with his picking hand or his fingering hand? Which hand did that?
I'm imagining it was the right hand because his left hand was slapping Lars Ulrich away from his.
Every time I got so excited, he's eating frosted pop tarts all morning. Every time I told someone, because I was like, that's fucking cool. Like he's got like millions of followers and he followed us and then liked the thing. Mm-hmm. Every time I was like, hey, like he followed us. So like, can you message him and tell him to fuck Lars Ulrich? Everyone just hates that guy. Poor thing.
But yeah, it's really cool, and it's interesting because that's another thing. Like, is physical media as a fan is so, like you just got that book of art, vintage art that he did, and posters, just opening it up and looking at it is just incredible. So it's different than seeing it on a screen. So we definitely got to do more with that. But But I love the resolutions. I love that you're manifesting more stuff for us because it worked last year, which is great.
I'm gonna say right now.
Do it.
I'm gonna make a bold ass claim.
Do it.
I'm gonna say Haunted Mansion gets greenlit.
Perfect.
I'm gonna say out of all of them,
manifest something for us too.
We'll be in Haunted Mansion. We'll be hitchhiking ghosts.
Mine says one track mind. I can see you're stuck on. Okay.
We'll be in the graveyard at the end of the fucking movie.
Fair enough. Well, it's good to be back. Glad that you took the time to listen. We appreciate it.
Let us know what your horror resolutions are, if you have any.
Yes.
And if you get a chance to watch Satan's Helpers, not Satan's Little Helpers.
Satan's Slaves.
Satan's Slaves. Jesus
Yes.
Christ! I knew I was going to do it on this episode. I'm not editing this out because I knew I was going to do it. I manifested me fucking up the title.
It's fine.
For the film. So, all right. Until next time, stay scary. Watch a bunch of horror movies. Bye.
Bye, guys.